So if I believe that God's got it all laid out before one of my days even came to be, the days are numbered, and he moves it all around the way he needs to and wants to, and he takes all my bad decisions and he uses them. And man, faith is being sure of what I hope for. So why not hope with a lot of bells and whistles and specifics? Put together your dream, whatever it is. It could be somebody that's looking for a career. Maybe it's a change. Maybe it's I need it now. I mean, it could be whatever. Get it specific. Just why not tell him this is exactly what, and then let him do it the way he does it. Trust him. Don't wait and start looking at it going, man, he didn't answer my prayers. He never answered my prayers. How come he answered her prayers? That ain't mine, blah, blah, blah. It's like there's no time to let him do what he does, but at least present your requests to him. He already knows what we need. He loves it when we know and when we tell him. And so what do you want to do for me to do for you? Very important question. And then the next week it was, do you believe I'm able to do this? This one goes to the strongholds in our life, the ones that, some quiet times and little D times and, little devos that ain't been enough. These are things that have been rooted in for a long time. And I'm going to ask you and challenge you, do you believe? You say you do. All right, it's time to really say, no, I believe, and I'm going to give it all to you. This scares me. It ought to be a little scary. Why not? That's what it's all about. And then last week it was, where is your faith in the storm? When we go through the storms, do we automatically blame him? Why you do me like this? It's a natural thing that we all have struggled with. And he's saying, okay, the storms are going to reveal my faith. Not the good times. Good times, man, if you're going through one of those seasons, just good times, enjoy it, man, enjoy. But then when the season changes, man, it's time to dig in. And it's time to let those storms do their good work. I don't believe he sends the storms. I think he uses them. We create them the way we do. And he works in our mess. And if you let him, that's what's going to change you. And tonight we get to look at something. But I told you I'd give you a little therapy. I want to not give you some. Man, my day-to-day, I have to. Part of it is I want to verbalize what's in my head because all this stuff that happens. Today I took a shot. I was heading down to Eastman, the juvenile prison. It's, my Wednesday. That's why I think it's cool to preach on Wednesday night, because it's a wild day. And, I come back 3 hours down, 4 hours back on Wednesdays. And so all the ride down there, man, it was, he was on me. And I'm just in this situation where I'm at the end of me. My talent goes so far, my skill set, my knowledge, my experience. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, what do I do now? And that's the situation. These are 16 to 20-year-old violent felons. They've had very hard lives. A lot of them hit the streets when they were 12 or 13, start earning for their families. A lot of them come from really, really tough situations, and this is just what happens in their lives. And now all of a sudden you got Bloods that have been running this prison for quite some time. And now all of a sudden Crips are being shipped in, and we got 2 dorms called the Thunder dorms. And it's pretty much almost 50-50 now, Crips and Bloods, and it's very lively. And so I was just, what do you want me to do? I got 3 hours when I'm riding down there. And I don't know, I felt like I got an answer, but it was kind of a, dang, you really want me to do that? And it's not like a verbal thing. It's just like it's a knowing. I know he's going to give me, but I got to trust it. And so what it was is, pick a fight. And so, but a righteous battle. And so I prepared because the warden, I needed to tell him the truth. His deputy wardens have been actively opposing me. And this is a hard enough job. What I'm saying? The only one that could do it, I think, is, Jesus could do it. I don't know anybody else that could do it. And if you don't have the support. And so I decided to take a risk with the warden and say, hey, listen, if now ain't the right time, I might take this to another place. I'm thinking about calling it wasn't a ploy. It wasn't a technique. It was for real. It was a heart to heart. I need to tell you some things. And maybe you're not ready for this. Maybe I need to take it. I can call the commissioner. We can work this out. I go do this at another prison. And he's like, no. That's not what we want. And then he started trying, now don't do that. This is where you need to be. I got you, bro. Don't worry about my deputies. Shoot, I run them. Don't even worry about them anymore. And it was like a big breakthrough because there's been a lack of respect. And it ain't about respect me, bro. No, it's like respect this work. You know what I'm saying? Why you bring me in there? And then the next talk was with the boys. And so I had all 4 dorms come by one at a time. And today we had to come to Jesus. And so I'm telling these young gangster kids that I love so much, I called them out today. And I said, listen, I'm going to say some things today. And if you ever listen to me, I need you to listen to me today. Because last week they were off the chain. I mean, they were just hard to control. They were, Crips and Bloods in the same circle in one small room. And it gets lively. And I'm trying to teach them. And so I said, man, it's going to change. And I called them out. And I said, don't come to my circle. I didn't bring Roots today. So they're like, where Roots at? I said, Roots only goes where he's respected. And so he stayed in the car today. He ain't coming today. And they're like, uh-oh, what we do? And I'm like, this is how it's going to be. And I challenged them, but it was I'm kind of, I don't know. It's okay to be proud of yourself sometimes. I'm proud of myself because my nature is to go hard. I get emotional. And then I'm coming hard. And, that works too. There's a time for it. But today they needed something gentle. But they needed me to say, look, this is my life's work. I will die for this. I almost have. And so don't disrespect this program. And Roots represents the program. Don't you disrespect him. Don't come to my circle if you're not ready to put in some work. And I didn't know how they were going to respond. I didn't know how the warden was going to respond. I didn't know if the warden's going to say, good, take it away. He didn't. He hung on to it. It's called the takeaway close for those that are into sale. And then with the boys, that was a risk. I'll see next week, how many I weeded out. And so pray for me. It was a very a powerful day. And I'm glad that, that he gave me the answer because I wasn't going to do that. And I decided, man, I'm tired of tiptoeing around this thing. I'm tired of it. It's time just to get, we're going to take this to another level. And so, that was my day today. And I'm very, very excited. I mean, I felt like a weight was lifted off of me. And I feel like these kids maybe are ready to lay it down and start putting in some work. So more on that next week. Okay. So I love this story, man. Just follow along with me. Listen, Mark 8:22-26. It says, they came to Bethsaida. And some people brought a blind man. You see how Jesus is always attracted to blind people. He loves giving people sight. Some people brought him a blind man and begged Jesus to touch him. He took the blind man by the hand and led him outside the village. When he had spit on the man's eyes and put his hands on him, Jesus asked, do you see anything? He looked up and said, I see people. They look like trees walking around. Once more, Jesus put his hands on the man's eyes. Then his eyes were open, his sight was restored, and he saw everything clearly. Jesus sent him home saying, don't even go into the village. So this is this crazy story, man. I don't know about you, but there have been times where lots of times I'm like, why the second touch? Jesus. And they bring the blind man to him and they're like, Jesus, can you heal this dude? We care about him. And so they brought him, and it's beautiful when we bring people to him, right? But sometimes it's us that need to be brought. And so Jesus, is he having an off day? Is it the brother's problem? He didn't have faith. I don't know how you figured it out in your mind. This is how I see it. Sometimes it takes a second touch. All right, this brother, he hadn't been blind his whole life. We pretty much know that because Jesus touches him and then says, do you see anything? All right, you've been doing this 5 weeks. And now the question is, have you seen anything yet? Are you seeing signs yet? Are you circling some of your impossible prayers yet? Or you're like, no, I see some things, but it's fuzzy. I don't know if it's God or not. It could just be me. And it's like you're working through this thing, and that's all right. But Jesus, he touched him. Before he touched him, he led him away from the crowd. It's interesting when Jesus does this. He doesn't always do it. Sometimes it's Lazarus come out, and I said that so all y'all would know. And he did it like that. Sometimes it was your servant is healed at this moment, and he did a long distance healing. He could do it however he wanted to. He could say, little girl, get up. He could do it however he wanted to, but sometimes he got real personal. And he put his hands on his eyes. Now, I don't know what that looked like. I don't know how he did it. I really don't know. But I see this man broken because he used to be able to see, and he can't see anymore. And so he has this vague remembrance of what people look like and what trees look like, but he wasn't seeing clearly yet. It'll be fun to ask him, why'd you do it twice? So he asked him, do you see anything? And I believe that's what we're supposed to talk about tonight is, what do you see? See, sometimes it takes a second touch. Sometimes he'll lead you outside of the village. Now, I don't want him to take you where he took me. Well, no, I took him, but where he met me is, he'll work with you wherever you are, but sometimes it's a solo thing. We want to have the change happen in the church, and it is, but sometimes it's you all alone. It's you wrestling with your thing. And it's not just singles and not just teens and not just college that are alone. No, all of us are wrestling with our things, and he's going to touch you where it hurts. This man, his pain was in his eyes, and I believe it was what he used to have, he did not have anymore. And as I travel around and do this crazy little thing called 40 Days of Prayer, and today we booked Pittsburgh. That one's kind of been, so we got Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and it's always fun to see who's next. I don't market it. I just kind of see who pops up. It's fun. And if nobody does, that's cool. I got a lot to do. And so I think there was a time when he could see things. And maybe that's what it was for you. You look back and you say, man, I wanted more than this. This is, man, I was so excited in the beginning, and God bless you because you're here. And the young ones, man, is fresh, but it can happen to young too. But especially those of us who've been around the sun more times, and especially doing this thing, it can be to where, I see God, but I don't see him clearly. I see the church. I see his people. I see the Bible. I see the lost. I know the game. I get it. It's not doing it for me anymore. Sermons aren't stirring me like they used to, man. My heart's just kind of gotten just a little dull. Don't be ashamed. As I'm saying that, don't start slipping back. And I'm not saying anybody is, but if anybody out there is slipping back into that critical self-judgment, Uncle G just trashing yourself because he's used to doing it. He does what he does the most. He gets good at it, and a worry can be a habit. But self-judgment, it can be a habit, and we don't even listen anymore. We're caught up in the voice in the head, and we don't realize we are the observer. We are the watcher. We're supposed to take captive every thought. And I was wrestling with that for 3 hours, taking captive, because fear was kind of coming in, man, this ain't working. I'm not talking about fear about working with young gangsters. I'm talking about, I don't want to take an L. I want this to work. I want peace to come to this prison. I've seen it happen. And these kids told me, one brother said, it ain't going to happen here, bro. Eastman doesn't do like that. This is just, it is what it is. And I said, bro, everything's impossible until somebody does it. And I've seen too many things in my life that were impossible, that God said, man, I'm the God of possibility. You know what I'm saying? And so this guy, maybe he didn't have any hope. It's interesting that his friends had to bring him. He wasn't going. Maybe he didn't know, but maybe he did. And he's like, whatever. It don't work like that for me. I've tried. And so whatever had broken him, I believe he was broken. And see, broken is a good place, man. For those of us in recovery, we don't get clean or sober until we hit bottom. That's the way that works. For those that wrestle with mental issues, man, we got to really have our thing tight and have the right routines and the right relationships and we got to really, all of us. But see, the good thing about me is I can't afford not to do these things. And so I do them, and they have become, a lot of them, habitual good habits, right? And the more good you put in, you squeeze out the rest. You don't sweep the house clean and try to get rid of the bad habits and not replace it with anything, because what did he say? You're going to go get 7 of his buddies and come back and you're going to be worse off than you were when we started this thing. We don't want that. And so we're not just trying to, I got to stop doing this. The best way to stop doing this is to start doing this. You know, I had no time to, I mean, I was in my head, but I was in my head about Eastman, man. I was in my head about the warden and the boys. I wasn't struggling with me. I wasn't like, you know, down on myself or why do I do this? Lately, I mean, I've been busy enough and things have been banging that I don't know. I hadn't, it ain't been hard. I mean, me, you know, struggling with things hadn't been hard. It's the battle that's been hard, but that's what makes it great. I'm cool with that. But I need this, and I relate to this because I needed a second touch. 1989, I told you I was the easiest mark you've ever seen. I was the quickest baptism, man. I was just, you couldn't pour it into me fast enough. And when I fall hard. I fall in love easy. And I'm talking about love. I'm not talking about I got one ride or die, but you know what I'm saying. And so I was easy, man. And it was true love. I'm not one of these dudes. Even when I was out there being crazy, like wild again, just, I mean, don't let your imagination go wild, but it was wild. It wasn't safe. It was treacherous. I mean, what I was doing, I didn't care. And when somebody gets to the place they don't care, that's a dangerous place. You can hurt yourself. You can hurt somebody else. And I was just out there reckless and on the run. And I needed a second touch. See, the first touch set me free. No. First touch saved my soul, covered me, made me clean. Freedom wasn't there yet. I was as free as I'd ever been, but it wasn't free indeed. You know, I wanted free indeed. And it's like, just go ahead and do it now. Well, it didn't, I can't speak for you. It didn't work like that for me. Mine was an immature love. It was a first love, but that's why I've told you guys, I ain't trying to go back to my first love. I love that scripture, but I want a new love. I want a new one. And it's like a first love because you fall in love. I told you I fell in love with my wife after 12 years of marriage. That's crazy, but it's true. We got a new love. We didn't go back to our first love, baby. We got to go back to where, no, that was an immature love. Now it's time for a deep love. And I couldn't do that by myself. I mean, I was immature in my faith. And I went into the ministry and I started carrying the weight of the world. And I didn't give myself time to heal. And there was a lot of brokenness and woundedness in this, man. And I was a young man and I had some talent and I asked to go and they said they obliged me. And then I got on this ride and I forgot that I was wounded. And I forgot that, shoot, I'm the same dude. The first touch saved my soul. And when I was in my darkest pits and I was hanging out in places you don't go, and I was doing things you don't do, and I wasn't around you guys at all, I can say this with a clear conscience. I never felt like I was lost. I never thought he's done with me. You know, hope I don't die in a car crash. I'm going to hell. I've fallen away. And all the things that used to be in the heads, I can't explain it. I just felt like he loves me. I'm just messed up. And it wasn't even in 2005 when I had what we call a moment of clarity where I said, man, I don't have to do this anymore. I can go back to my father and I'll be a hired hand. And so after all those years being the big man, you know, kind of one of the main guys leading this big Atlanta church, man, I just went and hooked up with Ben Barnett and I asked him if I could please usher. Do you know, in all the years that this is embarrassing, in all the years that I've been in the church at that point, I had never ushered. I told the ushers, yeah, do this. And so I was like, you know, make me like a hired hand, you know, the best thing I do. And he let me usher, man. And after a while, just softening my heart and the church getting to know my wife and doing everything that we do to get connected, he got me to get on that stage. And I tried to find my voice again, but then the prisoners brought it out and got me on the thing. And so I needed a second touch. The question is, do you feel like you're at a point in your relationship where you could use another touch? Like I see him, but I don't see him like I want to see him. I don't see him like I did at first. I'm going to gently ask you, let's don't go backwards. Let's visualize. Let's talk about what we want. What I want, please, and I write it down. I want to see you clearly. I want to see you working around me. Help me recognize, help me notice, help me not overlook, help me not explain away, help me not have sophisticated excuses about how God doesn't do this anymore. It's like hogwash. He doesn't do it anymore. Who in the world am I to tell God how he does things? Shame on me. No, he does things the way he wants to do things. His hands aren't tied. He is not in a box. And so I had put him in a box, and it did not work out for me, because after 15 years of growing this church, man, from 500 to 5,000, man, in Atlanta, that wasn't me, but I was on that ride. I mean, that was explosive. I kind of lost him in the mix, and I couldn't see him anymore. You know, I hope this is okay. I'm going to take a little risk, just like I did today. You know, I love the Bible. I love God more than the Bible. God gave us the Bible. It's limited. It's divine. I love the Word of God. I love him more. I love the church. I love the church. Saved my life. I love God more than the church. God is not the church. We are. God is not that book. He is. He's the living Word of God. That book gets us in position to maybe be able to see him. And the church keeps us safe and helps us have a place to heal and family and to grow. And he's there, but that ain't him. But the thing that's got, I'm just talking for me, maybe somebody relates. The longer we're around something, it's harder and harder to be impressed by it. And all of a sudden, all these years later, we're putting in all this work, putting in all this time, and we look around, it's like, man, I think that my faith is in the Bible and the church. And I don't see him anymore. You know, God bless the visitor that comes to church. God bless the Bible study you're in. God bless the baptism. God, that's the good stuff. Is there more? Is there a deeper relationship when there's good news to share? What about God touched me and I'm new? I see him again. I see him in my mess, and I see him in my marriage, and I see him in my kids, and I see him in those young gangsters, and I see him, and I see him, and I see him. I want to see him. That's all I want to do. I just want to see him. Don't let me go. Let me see you. How bad you want to see him? What you willing to do to get in position? Are you willing to let him touch you again? But understand this. It don't feel good sometimes. He didn't hug the man. He took him away from everybody because he did not want this miracle to be public. Unfortunately, most of my ministry and relationship with God was public. And God took me away. I ran away. I pissed at him. And the divine stalker, he got all over me. I just couldn't outrun him. He was faster, and I couldn't get high enough. He was too tall. And I couldn't get low enough because he's so deep. And I couldn't get wide. I tried to go sideways. Some of y'all know what that is. And he's just, he was everywhere. And so I gave up. But then it was like, okay, just because I turned around, it doesn't mean that I was magically healed. I had done a lot of damage to my heart. I had done a lot of damage to these eyes. I took these eyeballs places they ain't supposed to go. Man, I took this gift and I squandered it. And you talk about shame and judgment. My gosh, it was hard and deep. I had screwed it all up in front of God and everybody. So my ministry was public, and so was my fall from grace. And then I left, man. Fall away? Apparently not. Wander from the truth? Yeah. And then someone brought me back and saved me from a multitude of sins. I was headed for death or prison. I wandered from the truth, much different than falling away. But for some reason, he did it with just me and him. You don't got to go anywhere to get just you and him. That's the beauty of it. You don't got to do what I did. I did what I did. And now God said, I'll use that too. You wouldn't care about those young boys if you hadn't been out there being stupid. They got a place in my heart because I was stupid too. And so he touched me again. But guess what? When he touched me, just like the second touch, man, it was just him and Jesus, okay? It wasn't a crowd. It had to be scary for this. I mean, he didn't even ask to come. His friends stuck him there and said, will you touch him? And Jesus said, sure, but not in front of you. And so he wandered away, and he didn't ask permission. He touched his eyes, and then he asked the question, do you see anything? Kinda, not really. But thanks, Jesus. I appreciate it. I'd rather be like this, at least I can kind of see. I'm good. Appreciate you. No, I mean, why do it a little bit? You know what I'm saying? Today, I called those boys out and I said, man, I would be disrespectful of you if I didn't tell you the truth. And we're not going to do this anymore. Either decide you're going to do this for real. Don't leave my meeting and go back to the dorm and start fighting again. That's what they did last week. They planned to fight right after my meeting. I said, nah, we're not doing this anymore. You're going to respect this. Okay, well, what's that have to do with this? I'm saying this. Why do it halfway? What's the point of doing it halfway? Why halfway in your marriage? Singles halfway in this thing, little bitty dreams, safe moves, stay in the church. It's like, I ain't talking about leaving the church. I'm staying in the confines of the church, the box. It's like miracles. Yeah, they happen inside the church, but man, Jesus don't hang out there much unless he brings a whip. He's out there in the streets, man. And he's looking for every week almost we talk about blind people. Why is that? Because he wants us to see him. Can you imagine a relationship with somebody that you don't ever get to see? It's just a phone call relationship. It could be beautiful, but it's like love wants more. And so I'm talking to somebody out there that's been giving half for years, doing the minimum requirement. I hope I'm not talking to anybody. That's what I got to. I wasn't even doing the minimum. But see, it ain't hard to show up at church. It ain't hard to write a check. It ain't hard to give an invitation to a stranger. If that's hard for you, come on now. Shoot, well, it's time to get on to some meat. It's like these things are not hard. It's not hard to get together with somebody you get together with all the time and talk about the same stuff. That's not hard. That's the easy stuff. We're talking about Candyland. I'm talking about, I'm going to go to a place that scares me, man. I'm going to go all in. I don't know what that means for you. Only you do. You know what you're holding back. I don't know. How you're holding back your love. I don't know. How you're holding back your faith. You say you want more, but you don't do anything new. So what is that? That's a halfway. I kind of see you. Trees, people, I can't tell. I'm bumping into things, Lord. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to play it safe. Now that you gave me half my eyesight, I'm better than I was. I'm not as bad as I used to be. And so for me, that's enough. I've been doing this for 25 years, Joker. I'm not trying to, and now's not the time to try and motivate me. I'm 60. You know what I'm saying? I'm ready to ride it out. It's like, God bless you. I'm not going to tell you that you can't do that. I mean, you can get to heaven in a lazy boy. I think he's like that. I mean, he loves you like that. I mean, but can you imagine him sitting around in your living room? And that's the extent. Is some TV, really? The job, an invitation to church. God bless you. Keep inviting people. But really, is that it? Or is there more? Do you long for more? If you don't, I told those boys today, I said, listen, next week, I'm going to see who shows up. And I asked the warden ahead of time, I said, listen, I'm probably going to run some boys off. Are you cool with that? Because I don't know how many people can come back next week. They were quiet today and they were locked in. They were off the chain last week. And today I said, y'all need to listen to me today because I got something I got to tell you. And I spoke in a quiet voice. I did not yell at them or challenge them. I pleaded with them. Do this. Brother called me up and said he wanted to get sober. And I'm like, praise Jehovah, man. I've been waiting on this. And he started telling me kind of what was up. And, I got to figure out my trigger. I got to figure out my trigger. Why do I do this? I did it again. And so did what? Got drunk, man. I don't know what happened this time, man. Why do I got to keep doing that? And I was like, if you want to, you can figure out what your trigger is, but is it going to change anything? It's like, let's just break it down. He took 20 minutes to say absolutely nothing. Well, that's kind of just a lot of nothing. And I listened patiently and I said, bro, if you want to work on your trigger, then God bless you. Why don't we go old school and let's go to AA together? Sometimes, CR, I'm down with it. However you want to do it, it's cool with me. I believe it's good to get into a group where nobody knows you and you let people into your life just to get sober and clean. You're willing to do that. That's risky. That takes guts. And I think real recovery lies there because we have a hard time challenging one another. And the best maybe we can do is accountability. Hold me accountable, bro. Well, that helps. But man, what about this? How about you hold me accountable, please? I need you. And I said, man, so what do you think? And this person said, I don't like AA. I hate AA. And I went, you ever been to AA? And he goes, no. It's like, I was like saying, I don't like Brussels sprouts and you ain't never tasted them. I was like, how you going to judge AA? I'm telling you, there's a method to the madness. And so he came with all this different stuff. And God bless him. I'm so excited about it. But he was just saying nothing with a whole bunch of words. Why do I do this? Why do I do this? It happens every now and then. I said, well, let's talk about that every now and then. So over the last 4 years, how many times have you gotten drunk or at least really got buzzed? And he went, hundreds. And I said, all right, why? And he goes, I don't know. And I said, bro, is it as simple as I like the way it makes me feel, but it's not working anymore? This could have been an 8-second conversation. Bro, I'm a drunk. What do? I drink to excess because I like the way it feels. I've tried to stop and I can't. Can you help me? I said, is that the truth? And he goes, yeah. And I said, well, we could save some time, but I'm all right with it. And I said, isn't that easier? Didn't that feel good? Just to say what it is? It's like, man, this is my struggle. This is my stronghold. I'm stuck right here and I need a new touch. I need a second touch. And then that's where it is. But you can't get this one just from doing the same old things you've always done. I promise you, I say that what I'm saying tonight respectfully, I don't know where your journey is. I've just been doing this long enough to know that some people are stuck. And so how do I get this? I'm not going to teach 3 points on how to get the second touch. I don't know. All I know is I got to ask him, touch me where it hurts. I'm giving you permission, though you don't need it, to go ahead and have your way with me. I trust you. My young friend Marquez, he just got out. He got big dreams and he got stupid and he caught a charge. And I'm like, man up, little brother. It's time. We're going to face this one. We ain't going to run. He ran from the cops. You know what I'm saying? High speed. And I was like, bro, I'm not mad at you. I'll stand up for you. I'll be there. I ain't going to leave you. But what you want to do? You going to keep running? Are you going to stand up and face your fear and do the thing, that one thing that we've been talking about? And instead, I used to do this. So I'm a hypocrite if I say, y'all need to do this. Man, I would talk all around the problem. It was confusing. It's like, hey, bro, I kind of messed up again. And it was just blah, 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 saying nothing because I was more afraid of him and what he was going to think. Why? Why was I caught up in what a human being thinks? Because I'm just like everybody else. And it's hard to follow an invisible God when we got all these people around us. And I'm trying to get these brothers to do the work and nobody wants to make the first move because they don't want to look weak to their ops. And so it's like, nah, somebody's going to have to get out of the boat. Somebody's going to have to open this thing up. And that's what I'm asking for you. What if you go to him and you say, I want to get well? And what I want you to do for me is I want you to heal me of fill in the blank for you, whatever it is. I want to see, show me myself. I can't follow an invisible God. I need him to show me himself. I don't need proof. I love him. I know he's there. Good Lord. But I want to see something and he shows me. Why would he ever not show you? If you asked him, why would he say, no, we're going to play hide and seek? He's like, I'm right here. I've always been here. Always. As a matter of fact, I've been stalking you for 3 years, running around the church. Just because you're in the church don't mean I'm going to stop chasing you. You're not really giving me your best. And you know it. Quit being guilty. And because shame is, that's from the other guy. That ain't from God. That's just like, guilt is feel bad for what I did. There's a place for that. Shame is I feel bad about who I am. That's different. That has to be kind of insulting to him because you're perfectly and wonderfully made, knit together in the mother's womb. He makes no mistakes, but he allows the thorn to remain to keep us humble and to help us rely on him. And so the thorn becomes a beautiful blessing. I wouldn't trade it. It's been hard recently, hard right here. I've been there before. I know what to do. He's taught me. It doesn't make it easy. I mean, it ain't going to be easy. And that's why I said, man, are you willing to risk a broken heart? Broken hearts aren't so bad. Yeah, I'm okay with broken hearts. I don't ever want to get a love romance broken heart ever again. I don't want to go there. But I'm not afraid to try things I've never done, and I'm not afraid to fail anymore. As a matter of fact, I fail a lot, but I fail forward. Failing is failing is the deal. Fail a lot. How about that? Now, ask your preacher. This preacher is telling you fail again, fail again, fail again, until you get up and go, holy, I've come a long way. I keep falling down, getting up, falling forward, getting up, falling forward. And falling is the good part. If there's no shame in it, if it's just like fell again. Now, I'm not talking about struggling with the same dang thing over and over. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about trying new things that you've never done before because you dealt with your fear. It's more than just an invitation to a church. We're supposed to show people what Jesus looks like. And I'm going to challenge you with this. If you don't remind people of Jesus when they see you and talk to you, if they don't feel you, you just got to ask yourself why. You don't got to bring a bunch of shame and judgment into it, but please ask yourself, why do I not remind people of Jesus? And that doesn't mean you change your personality. It means you become authentic. And it doesn't even mean I work in areas. I did a corporate gig yesterday. I talked about God all the time, but I didn't say his name because I'm going to trust and respect the boundaries. I'm going to show them Jesus. I shouldn't even have to say his name. If you hang out with me and you don't feel like this man's been with Jesus, then that's on me. I got to figure out what's wrong because anybody can love. Anybody can be vulnerable and real. Anybody. It doesn't take anything. You don't have to have a special gift to love hard. And you don't got a special gift to be honest and be true and pure. I mean, I'm talking about just like, this is me, good, bad, and ugly. This is me. And I trust him and I trust you. Do we really trust each other? Or are we just playing church? It's time for us to go somewhere new. And I want you to go with me. And that don't mean nothing. You stay where you're at, but we go. And we go places we hadn't been and we fall down and then we cheer. All my failures were like, they were like, what's the word? I don't know. Scandalous. There we go. All my failures in public things were scandalous. I was so filled with shame because church people don't know how to deal with what I was doing. And then I went into prison and I started preaching to those brothers and they cheered. They loved it. They were like, you did that. Woo, I did that. It's like, oh man, then they laugh at my chart. I say, I'm going to tell you my rap sheet. You want me to tell you? I've told you I got arrested about 5 times. All right. One of my charges, and I tell them and they laugh so hard. These are hard convicts. One of my charges was harassing a police animal. I actually got arrested because I got up in this police dog's face. He was in a van, and I'm like, rah, and I'm getting him all stirred up like that's a good idea. And so I'm in cuffs, of course. Another time I smart off to an undercover cop that I don't know he's an undercover cop, and I kind of just get, I don't know, mouthy, and I got into the thing, and I'm in cuffs again, like, dang it. The other time I won't say that one, but it wasn't that bad, but it probably wouldn't work. One was very, very serious. And then the other one was I said something stupid in front. I was about to get, I don't know. It was just like all my charges are so funny. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm this hard dude. I ain't hard. They are. They made me. They helped me find myself. They listened to all my pain and they felt me. They listened to my madness and they saw me. I told them my truth and they got me. I see you. I feel you. I got you. That's our saying in the prisons. I see you, dog. I recognize you. I see God in you, bro. I see you. That's what that means. I see you, bro. I see you, sis. Do you see me? That's what that means. I see you. They taught me that. I feel you, bro. I feel you. When you hurt, I hurt. When you celebrate, I feel good. That's said all the time. You feel me? You feel me, bro? I feel you, dog. It's like, what does that even mean? It means compassion. I see you means respect. I feel you means compassion. And I got you means loyalty. I got you. Hey, ride or die. If you're in trouble, I am there. If somebody comes after you, they got to come through me too. It's like arm in arm, band of brothers. Are we like that in the church? Or is it just comfortable relationships when it's, feels right? Or is it ride or die? I see you, bro. I got you, man. That's what I wanted. And I had to learn it in a prison. Isn't that a trip? And then lastly, and I do want to leave just a few minutes for, I don't know, maybe a little Q&A. I got to tell you about how anybody can change. There's a brother, and I don't know, Steve. I mean, if we need to break up and go to our groups right away, please, please, please. This is your thing, not mine. I don't want to change anything, but I don't know how it works, if we can spend time together or not, but I'm open to whatever you guys want to do. But
we're good with it, Rhett, or we're good with that, Kit.
Amen. Thank you, brother, man. I want it. Yeah. So I'm in my circles, and when a kid comes into Eastman, I can tell who he is by how he's treated. And most time it doesn't go well for you unless you're already hooked up and you know people, or you've got credibility. You come in with rank or whatever it is. And so guys get beat, and then this one kid comes into my circle and he didn't get beat. And those boys treated him with respect. And I knew he was somebody. He was a young boss, 18 years old. And he looked through me. This dude, he's been on the streets since he was young. 13 years old, he was carrying around $2,500 in his pocket. He was making $1,000 a week at 13. He looked at the drug dealer and said, I want to be him. I want that car. I want that woman. I want that jewelry. I want that cash. I want that life. And a little boy grew up and became that man. How you say no to that? He running from the police at 13. And nobody knows that little 13-year-old is making more money than the cop that's chasing him. And yet we're saying, just say no. So really? So that's who he was. And one day we're standing out in the yard, and I don't know him very well, but he became somebody in that circle. When he spoke, people listened. I began to call on him, and I began to rely on him. And then I began to get advice from him. Why would I not get advice from a young boss? Would that be stupid? Now I teach him, but man, he teaches me. Anybody can teach you. If you've gotten to the point where nobody can teach you unless they're above you, come on now. We can learn from the teens, man. I hang out with kids all the time. They have educated me. They'll keep you young. So we're sitting there in the yard, and he said, man, actually, he was saying it to another kid. He goes, man, when I go home, I don't want to be the man I used to be. He wasn't a good man. And he was talking about his life. I overheard that. And I was like, say that again. And he said, what? I said, what'd you just say? And he said, I said, when I go home, get back in the free world, I don't want to be the man that I used to be. I was a bad man. And I was like, you mean that? He goes, yeah. And I said, well, what are you trying to do? And he said, this was probably 8 months ago, maybe something like that. And he said, I want to do what you do. And I was like, what's that? And he said, a motivational speaker. And I was like, I don't like when people call me that. It's a cheesy thing. It reminds me of Chris Farley on Saturday Night Live. It's like, no, man, I'm an author and a teacher, dog. And so it's like, but he said, I want to do you. It's just like when he looked at that drug dealer and said, I want that. He's looking at me saying, I want that. And I'm like, have you ever been a hero? And he said, yes, I have. Those brothers are not afraid to die, and they're not afraid to go to prison. And some of them are not afraid to kill somebody. Okay. They don't have a lot of fear. And so I have to respect that. Dr. King said, anybody that doesn't have something they're willing to die for is not fit to live. Dr. King said that. These boys are willing to die for something. We start there. And I said, we're going to have to find the hero inside of you, bro. What you're saying you want to do is going to take a superhero, and you're going to have to find some superpower, because you're going to go back to the same streets and you got your same ops that are looking for you. There's a price on your head, and the cops are going to try to jam you up as soon as possible. Just make a move. They're going to try to get you back. And I said, what are you willing to do? And he promised me he would, connect when we got out. And he was a man of his word. He told me that. He said, my word is my bond. And he meant it. And so he called me. And at this point, he's 19. But he's an old soul. And he hit me up, and I did what I promised. I told him again today, I said, when you get out, hit me up and I'll come and see you. I don't care where you live. Sometimes I got to drive a long way, but I'll come and see you, and I'll take you out to eat wherever you want. I'll take you to a sporting goods store. And this is the hard part. And I'll buy whatever shoes you want. Okay. That's scary. And then if I'm lucky enough, I'll go home and hug your family. 3 things I'll do. And then we'll see where it goes. Well, he took me up on it, and I went in there, and we did it. He chose a seafood restaurant, and he's like, hey, bro, we got to be careful, man. And I was like, why? He goes, they'll come and shoot up this place. They don't care if you're with me. And I'm like, all right, let's gotta be careful then. And we ate our seafood. And then we're out in the yard, out in the parking lot, we're taking selfies. He's like, bro, I gotta go, because we're out in the middle of open, and I'm like, but you're my guy. And so he did what he said he was going to do. And so, but what's he going to do next? And he started hitting me up, and he came to Atlanta, and I went to Columbus, and he lives 2 hours from me. We come back and forth. Well, let me tell you, I'll close with this. Last week, we had a serious day together. I hit him up and I said, hey, you want to speak? And he goes, to who? I said, I got a school lined up. Pay you $250. You ready to do it? He goes, bet. I'm in. He ain't scared. Shoot, he ain't scared. But he's brilliant. But he's street. I mean, when he talks, I guarantee you there's not a lot of people on the line that would really be able to understand him speaking, because I've got a PhD in street talk. And so I've been doing it so long. But I'll just say that. So anyway, we worked it out. He came to Atlanta, and I took him to this little school that I work with sometimes, and it's special needs kids, and it's out on this farm, and there's only about 40 or 50 kids, and it's a beautiful thing. I love them, and I'll serve when they ask me to. And so they reached out and said, hey, can you speak on da-da-da-da-da? And it's like, well, what about Marquez? And they went, Marquez? Because I put him up on stage at my last big event, and they said, would he come? I said, yeah, I'll set it up. And they said, I said, are you going to pay him? And they said, I guess, what do you think? And I said, $250. And I just, next one to speak loses. She said, okay. I'm like, okay, we booked a gig for Quez. And so we go up there, and I'm about to see magic. He got up in front of those kids, and these are kids, some are on the, autism scale, and some of them just haven't mainstream education hasn't worked for them. Some of them have behavioral issues. Some of them just are just a little different. And they're beautiful angel people, but I'm not talking about serious. I'm talking about kind of in the middle. And it's a special school. And I love these kids. And he got up there, and I'm talking about he's strong and he's hard. And he spoke to them gently. I mean, this takes a trained expert. There's a bunch of people on the line, I put you in front of these kids, it ain't easy. You got to know how to tread. And he moved in a way, and he spoke wisdom to these kids. And he was speaking in his voice, but he was choosing different words. And I was like, my God, look at that. And he went on, and then there was Q&A, and these kids would ask a question, crazy questions. And Quez would be like, they would ask the question, and he wouldn't start speaking right away. He'd go, well, here's how it is. And then he dropped some wisdom on it. And I'm like, man, this kid's mature beyond his years. And so if that's all it was, that'd be a good day. But we got done. I said, how you feel, bro? And he's like, man, I like this. And he felt this thing he'd never felt. Same thing I felt when y'all put me on a stage in 89. I felt something wake up. He felt it. And so I took him back to my office, and I called my little crew, and we shot a podcast, and I interviewed him. Great show. Hadn't dropped it yet. And afterwards I said, how you feel now? He's like, that was good. And I'm like, and he really was open and honest with his life. And then the third part of the day, I took him to a school called Carver, which is downtown Atlanta, hard school. I mean, they're kids that will go to Eastman. Okay. Tough neighborhood. But this is a football team that I've done some work with. They're a good football team, but I'm telling you, some of these kids are playing half in the street and half on the field. And, kids are dying. Kids are getting caught up in the gangs. I mean, that's just what it is. And I said, I want you to speak to the Carver kids. Now, check this. He's 19. These kids are 17 and 18. There ain't much difference between the two. They don't know him, and they're hard kids. How do you think that's going to go? Somebody's going to try to, bow up. Somebody's going to be, looking at him. Guys going to be talking to one and disrespecting him. Somebody going to be on their phone. They're going to do what kids do. That ain't what happened. He did not speak to them the way he spoke to those kids. You can't deal with everybody the same way you deal with everybody. Jesus did not do it that way. To the weak, you become weak. To the Jew, you become the Jew. To the Gentile, it's a whole different game. Become all things to all men. He became those boys, and the boss came out in him. And he did not speak with the same language. He spoke language they could understand, and I could too. And those boys were looking at him just like those kids were. And I was like, my God, look what God's doing. He got done with that gig, and now we put in a full day's work. He got his money. And I mean, 250 is not a lot of money. I told you he's making 50 grand a year when he was 13. And so, this was real money. This is legit money that street money just changes hands on the streets. This is real money you can keep. And so he's very proud of himself. At the end of the day, he's getting ready to head back to Columbus. And I said, Quez, he said, what? And I said, what'd you tell me you wanted to do in the yard when you were still locked up? He said, be a motivational speaker. And I said, what'd you do today? He said, motivational speaking. And I said, did you get paid for that? He goes, yes, I did. I said, what's that make you? And he went, a professional motivational speaker. And I said, that's what's up. And he was so proud of himself, man. And, we talk every day. And so yesterday at the corporate gig, I told his story to a bunch of, it was managers and salespeople from this, company. And I told the story of Quez, and I said, I preached about you today, bro. And he said, what'd you say? And I said, I told him the story. I love this kid. I said, I told him the story about the good kid that became a young boss, and then he got a big dream. I said, it sounds like a movie, bro. Did I tell you we're making a movie? Yeah, we're working on that. We're under contract. Who knows? We'll see. So I say all that to say, if this boy can change, it's more than just, will you come to church with me? He will go wherever I asked him to go. Will you study the Bible with me? There's a time and place for that. He ain't going to give me the time of day until he knows I believe in him. He's got to see me. I've got to show him Jesus. I can't tell him. That's not going to impress him. But he sees something. And he said, I want what you got. And I said, well, then come on the road with me, little brother. Tonight, I told him I'm going to take him to LA. Next time I go, he's like, for real, for real? I was like, man, you want to do me? Let's do it. He's blossoming and growing. I want that for some of the people on this call right here. I want you to go to a place you ain't never been before. I want you to risk everything and believe he will catch you. I want you to get a big dream, and I want you to get uncomfortable. Quez is doing that. He knows the streets, and now he's getting uncomfortable, and God is touching him. There's going to be a time for the rest of it. Right now, I'm winning him. I'm becoming him, and God's doing the work. I hope you're okay with this. I know it's unconventional. Paul's ministry was, and mine's kind of like that. I've said a lot tonight, so I got to shut up or I'll just keep going and going. And I can't do that to you, Steve. So I'm going to throw it back and we'll see what happens. So there you go.
Amen, Kit. Hey, I just want to say it. If you and Marquez end up coming out here to LA, man, you better know where you need to stop.
Yes, I will tell you that now. Oh my gosh, how did I forget that? Yes. Oh.
All right. Well, hey, Bible Talk leaders, I just want to let you know, I know some of you've got kids and you want to get into your discussion groups because you may be pulling for an earlier evening to close things out. So feel free to go ahead and dismiss from this and do whatever you need to do in your own groups. The rest of you, want to invite you to stay on here for a little bit, and Kit was going to open things up for some Q&A. The thing that would make that the smoothest is if you can put your questions in the chat. It's kind of hard to see where everybody's at with the number of people we have on screen right now. So if you could just go ahead and put your questions in the chat. And, if you don't know how to do that, we'll go ahead and take your audible questions as well. But I just want to make it as simple as we can and as smooth as we can. So cool. Think about what you'd like to ask. Go ahead and get that in the chat. For those of you that can't, just maybe message Jen and we'll have her unmute you. We'll go ahead and you guys are up, whatever you want to ask.
And I'm for some reason, I'm having a hard time pulling up my chat. So if somebody can just kind of tell me what, gets written in there, that'd be cool.
All right. Let's see. How many prisons are you working with right now, Kit?
One. And then I'm working with one undercover. So I can't go in there. They won't let me in there right now because I kind of started beefing with the commissioner, and that's the adult prison. So I'm kind of underground in that one. And so
Eastman's the big one right now with the Crips and the Bloods.
Yeah, the young one. Yep.
Okay.
And then I do some county jail here, and then like I said, we have an underground movement going on in the big boy prisons.
All right. Anybody else?
Anything about the lesson? Like what hit you?
Let's see. We've got no question, just clarification. You aren't acting unconventional in your outreach there. It's just much more old school than we are used to lately.
Okay. I'll receive that. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. And I'm absolutely cool. I will not be offended if y'all are. We would like to exercise our right not to ask questions. I'm all right with that. It's free.
Well, if we step into the cricket zone, we'll go ahead and dismiss. But let's see. How do you deal with kids that are having sexual confusion, LGBTQ? I don't know if that really corresponds to the message tonight. We might want to. I'll go ahead and kick it out to Kip, but think through anything that you, in light of the message that was preached tonight. Miracle prayers, things that maybe you're a little scared of stepping out in and want some input as to how to engage. But anyways, Kit.
I don't mind that question at all. And I told you nothing's off limits. And so I'm going to be real with you. My wife and me, we came together. She had 2 from a previous and I had 2 from a previous. And we had 3 boys and a girl, and 2 older and 2 younger. And so today we have 2 boys and 2 girls. How do you love someone in LGBTQ? Every day, all day. I love my daughter. That's what I do. And I love her completely with no agenda. I don't love her to try to change her. I love her because we love her. And so, don't know if you expected that. God has given me this amazing life where I get to experience so many things. And all of them, some of them are wonderful things, and some of them are hard things. So if you've been divorced, I feel you, me too. You've been addicted, I hate it, but have you been abused? Maybe when you were young, me too. Man, have you gotten arrested? Me too. You struggle with mental illness? Me too. You have a transgender family member? Me too. You have any in your family that have committed suicide? Me too. You have been locked up? Me too. I keep going. So how do I deal with the LGBTQ? I the same way you deal with everything, you become the other. She was so dark and so sad for most of her life when she used the name Ben. And she finally made a decision to, what a bold move. Now, here's the trip. She got married to her soulmate about 8 years ago. Ben married Ben married Bree, husband and wife. They love each other so completely. See, our daughter has never been same-sex attracted, ever. And when Ben was the name, she wasn't attracted to same sex. She fell in love with Bree, and they were married, monogamous, beautiful. I wish that people had a marriage like that. They're best friends, but now it's wife and wife instead of husband and wife. You have a problem with that? Become the other. Could you do that? To the transgender, what would Paul say? I become the transgender. Not to win them, not to change them, to convert them, to save them. Love with no agenda lets God do the work. I don't know what the future holds. They are faithful to one another. There's no homosexuality going on. This is a young person, not young. Sadly, when she was 19, she tried. But in the year 2000, it was hard. And so a few years ago, that was the decision. And you know what? The sadness went away. The darkness left. The suicidal ideations disappeared. And a beauty emerged that I cannot explain. And we laugh with Luna. Now she's Luna. We laugh with Luna and Bree a lot of times more than any of our other family members. There's a freedom. How am I going to hate that? Do you know, I prayed for Ben for a long, long time, set him free. And you know what? It doesn't always happen the way you think it's going to happen. She's free. Well, does she believe in Jesus? Is she going to heaven? I don't know what God's going to do. I serve a big God. I don't know what his plan is. I certainly don't have it figured out. All I know is he blessed us with a daughter. And we love her. Just because we love her. Is that enough? And so thank you for asking that question. I'm not going to lie to you when you ask me a question. So anyway, I bet you weren't expecting that answer. Oh, man.
Thanks, kid.
Just-
Are you able to see the chat?
Thanks, bro.
No, not at all, brother. That's what it's
No,
about.
I
I mean,
know,
that's
I
how
know.
Jesus would conduct himself.
Amen,
I don't doubt that for a second.
Amen.
Are you able to see the chat, or do you need me to read the next one?
How do you help and
Yeah.
encourage someone
Mike and
or
Rachel.
yourself to take that first step through the fear to get started on the path towards the dream, big goal? Great question. Simply, you just go. I mean, how do you take a journey on sobriety when all you've ever known is alcoholism? How do you do it? You just go. I mean, you make the first move. You don't got to make a bunch of moves. You just make the first one, whatever that is. I mean, you can figure, I mean, I've done a lot of soul searching to how, wrecked I was on the inside because of all the things, was whatever. But you make that first move. And so much of fear, 99% of the things that we fear never come to pass. That's supposedly a psychological fact. Okay, so most of the fear that we're going to experience is psychological fear. It's not rational.
Yeah.
We're only born into the world with two fears. One is the fear of falling, and the other is the fear of loud noises. That's it. A human being has two when they come into the world. Falling. You ever had the, when you fall back in a chair? Well, that's innate. You're born with it. And if somebody comes up and goes right behind you, you're always going to jump. Why? You're born with that, innate. All our other fears we have learned. We have learned to fear each other. We have learned racism. We have learned to fear the unknown. We've learned to fear change. We've learned to fear people. We've learned to fear the future. We learned to fear, and it's fear. And God bless. I mean, I've been there and I still get there. This morning I had some. So what do? I mean, you just take one step at a time, man. I showed up at Eastman one day and I didn't know anybody. And I started getting to know people. They're still, I mean, the warden told me today, there's a lot of people that do not want you here. And I said, I know. He said, I've been having meetings about you. I said, I know, I'm sorry. And he's like, what do you do then? You just keep loving. And I'm going to use this word because it's biblical. You love the hell out of them. You just love it till it comes out. I have not won them yet, man. The boys, yeah, I'm making progress. The staff, I'm a threat. And so I don't know. I didn't know what I was getting into. I just went to Eastman because I was invited. I started telling people this. I go where I'm invited. I go where I'm invited. And you know what I started getting? A lot of invitations. And so every day there's something new, but I can't see the name. But you just take whatever that first step is. And if you're not sure, ask him. Say, please reveal the step you want me to take, and then have the courage to do it. Don't explain it away and pick an easier way. So, I mean, that's what I think.
Let's see. Kelly Miller, how do you turn off negative self-talk to heal?
Whoo, that's the game right there. I love mantras. Mantras are powerful, and you can create whatever mantra. Basically, one, I've tried to master Uncle G. I'm not there, but I'm trying to understand my brain. I've done a lot of work on brain science. I wanted to educate myself, and the mind and the brain are two different things. The mind is the watcher, the brain is the organ. If I don't learn my brain, how am I going to change my life? As a man thinketh, so is he. Okay, so Paul says, I take captive every thought and make it obedient to Christ. And so that's how do I do it? Practice. I mean, it's like if you pay attention to the voice in the head, you can get really good at listening to the conversation. And then all of a sudden you realize the voice in the head is not me. A mantra allows you to get Uncle G to stop all the chatter, and it's called the monkey mind, branch to branch to branch, just one thought to another, and then all of a sudden worry, and then it's just like it's a crazy ride if we're not paying attention. Left unattended, I mean, he's going to run things, and that was not why he was given to you. He's an organ, just like the lungs, the heart, the kidney, the spleen. He's an organ, but he talks to you all day. And so you got to get involved in the conversation. And so I was a great starter and a lousy finisher. I'd start something, dazzle everybody, and then it'd get hard. I'd quit, move on. And so I developed a mantra that was, I always finish strong. 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 Say it, say it, say it. Eventually, Uncle G gets it. Okay, we finished strong, boss. And then all of a sudden, you begin to see yourself finishing things. Now, is it that simple? I believe so. It's just like get involved in the conversation. So what is it? Do you need to say, I adore my wife. 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 I adore her. I adore her. Oh my gosh, I adore my wife. Okay. Was that hard? No. But guess what's all over my mind right now? My wife. So I got to go. Just kidding. We'll close out. You can choose a mantra for anything you want. I love God. I love God. I love the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit always shows up for me. The Holy Spirit always shows up for me. And so when you catch the negative thought, you take it captive, quarantine, delete, replace. But you got to have something to replace it with. If you want it to be scriptures, do that. But mantras are powerful. Good question.
Man. We've got Karina Wingy with the last one. Karina, how can we as a church step out of the box? Take the step, Karina.
There you go.
Go ahead, kid.
How do we take a step out of the box? What's a better way to do it? Just blow up the box.
Amen, brother.
Just blow it up. Man, I know the box, man. I know where all the little dark spots are and the graffiti on the wall. I know where all the bodies are hidden. You know what I'm saying? I know my little box, right? And I hate the fact that I built a box and then tried to put you guys in it. My bad. Oh gosh, I got to tell you the story. And then, I want to respect your time, brother, man. I appreciate this extra time. I go all night.
We'll close out after this one, kid.
This is a perfect way to close, I think. Well, you guys decide. I went, oh my gosh, I can't believe I hadn't told this story yet. Okay, on Saturday, I don't know when it was a few days ago. My daughter and I went to an AA meeting together because she's in recovery. I'm so proud of her. She's 24 and she's 2.5 years sober. And so she said, you want to go to a meeting? I was like, yeah. And so it's noon on Friday. I said, I'll meet you there. And so I get to this AA clubhouse and I walk in, I'm looking for my little girl, man. Where's she at? And she's sitting up at the front table and she's with the group leader. And it looks like she is the leader of the group. She's a little soldier. She's a recovery soldier. She got sponsors, sponsees. She all about the big book. I mean, she's awesome. And so I'm like, I see her and she sees me. I'm like, so proud of her. And so I go and sit down. And so we're talking. She does a fantastic job opening the meeting. About 5 minutes, she picks the topic, and it was character defects. And she just did it. It was flawless. She's a natural, and she's not afraid. My daughter is not afraid. Boy, a lot of the stuff that went on is because she is not afraid. She needs more fear. And so, as best I could, man, I raised my hand. Everybody shares. I don't know. You guys probably don't know how it works. It's not like what you see in the movies, okay? Don't believe. If you ever see those cheesy movies about those meeting rooms, it ain't like that. There's joy in these rooms, man. We cut up. It's cool, but it gets deep. And so, I raised my hand. I said, man, 20 years ago, perfect storm, man. I was diagnosed alcoholic, bipolar, and PTSD. And I was like, my whole world came apart. I tore some stuff up. And I told everybody, I'm just like, I'm not going to hide anymore, man. This is my walk. This is my journey. This is my superpower. And so I shared. And then I didn't tell anybody. I was just like, man, it was a curse. And then all these years later, my son has a brain similar to mine. I told you this. I said, it's a blessing now. And I said, and you know what? My addiction is a blessing. And then with tears, I said, because that's my daughter. And everybody was like, what? And it was this moment and people are crying, right? And so anyway, I said that. And there was a dude, and he stood out to me because he's wearing a Georgia shirt. I'm a Georgia Bulldog. It ain't a bad time to be a Georgia Bulldog. And so he stood out to me, big old tall jogger. And so I didn't know. He shared and I saw him, but afterwards we're leaving and I've got a coffee cup. And so I'm going to take it and put it in the sink. Well, this brother happened to be in the middle and in the way of the sink. And I said, excuse me, bro. And I said, I'm gonna put this down here. And he goes, no problem. And he looks at me and says, hey man, my name's Doug. I said, hey, what's up, Doug? I'm Kit, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, all of a sudden he goes, did you go to Georgia, University of Georgia? I said, yep. And he said, when? I said, mid-'80s. And he said, me too. He said, did you ever play basketball at Stegman Coliseum? I said, all the time. He said, we played basketball against one another. I was like, what? And then he's like, crazy. Were you a preacher? And I said, yep. And he said, you studied the Bible with me. And I was like, shut up. And he goes, Doug Schutz. His name's Schutz. And I went, oh man, I remember that name. I said, how'd it go? He said, not real well. He said, man, we went at it. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry if I was not kind to you. I'm so sorry. And I meant it. And he goes, no, you were a great guy, man. We played ball. You're a good basketball player. We talked. And then, we stayed together. But, it stuck down where you said, I had to get baptized in your church or I couldn't be saved. And I looked at him right away and it just leapt out of me. I said, I was wrong and you were right. And I am sorry. All these years later, because you know what? I can't put God in that box. I mean, really? The whole world. We got to carry the whole world. If we really, I'm not saying who's lost and who's saved, and I'm not all loosey-goosey on doctrine. Don't hear me saying something I ain't saying. I'm just saying God is going to do his thing the way he does it, and he does not have to do it the way we say he has to do it. That's right. Well, what about the word of God? The word of God is the word of God, but it's got a whole lot of stuff in there. A lot of stuff. It all goes together. And the truth was, I did not teach him right. That wasn't right. That's my conviction. So all these years later, I go to an AA meeting with my daughter, and I happened to open up, and here was the punchline. He goes, guess what? And I said, what? He goes, I'm bipolar. And I was like, shut up. And he's like, yeah. And I said, me too. He goes, I know, you told everybody. And I'm like, man, I'm kind of down right now. You know what I'm saying, bro? I'm kind of in the valley. We got peaks and we got valleys. And he goes, me too. And I'm like, oh no, bro. And he hugs me like he wouldn't let me go. He hugged me better than I hugged him. And I'm a good hugger. And it was just a magical moment. I'm like, look what God did. This was this last Friday. I was like, look what he did in a short period of time. If I don't go to the meeting, this doesn't happen. If I don't say I'm bipolar, this doesn't happen. If I don't go and put my cup in the way and get him out of the way, the magic doesn't happen. Did I do anything? All I did was show up. If you don't show up, don't curse God because you didn't get your miracle. Good point. You got to get out there to receive yours. Man, I hope everything, I always want to say, hey, these are Kit's opinions, ideas, and convictions. Do not try this at home. It's like, you got to do you. I'm just letting you see my wacky world. And I hope I don't offend anybody. And I hope I don't confuse anybody. And God, I hope that I don't lead anybody astray by anything that I say. It's not thus saith the Lord. It's thus saith Kit. And all I'm going to talk about is my experience and what I've learned. God bless you guys, man. I love you. I hope you feel loved. And Steve, man, ride or die, bro.
Come on, brother.
Now, I love you, and I thank you for bringing me.
Love you too, my brother, and keep going after Eastman, bro. The victory's yours, man.
Thank you. I appreciate you, man.
Amen. Hey, can you close out with prayer?
Oh, gosh, I'd be honored. Now, don't tell anybody all this stuff, all right? It's on the download. All right.
We appreciate you, Kit.
Father, I'm just filled. I'm full. I'm grateful. I'm happy. I'm joyful. And I hurt. And sometimes I'm sad. But it's real. And I thank you for the joy. I thank you for the sadness. I thank you when I drive my little wife crazy when she tries to manage me. And I thank you for this moment. I thank you for these brothers and sisters. I thank you for my mind and my brain. Father, thank you for protecting me. I pray, whatever's going through all the minds that are on this call, whatever's going on in the hearts of your people, touch us. Please, second touch. Touch us where it hurts. Give us the courage to allow you to, and help us be willing to fail so that we can find you, and help us trust that when we make mistakes, like I did all those years ago and did not handle that brother with care, that you're going to give me another shot and bring him before me. And now he's my friend. And now I can love him right and let you worry about how and when and what and where. You got it all right there in front of you, and you don't make mistakes. And I'm so grateful. I'm grateful for the Marichis trusting me. Thank you. I'm grateful for the love and respect that your people have shown me. Thank you. And Father, anything that wasn't yours tonight that came out of my mouth, I pray that you'll take it from their minds. I pray they'll forget it. Father, anything that was you, help them remember it and retain it. And Father, help me not be boastful or proud, but Father, help me be weak and help me be real. And Father, when I'm weak, you are strong, and I want to see you. I love you. We need you. And we always pray in Jesus' name, help us remind people of him. Amen.
Hey, man, go get some sleep, my brother. God bless.